let's talk about the market performance. I mean, certainly it's mirroring sentiment, and I think the economic fundamentals are certainly very strong, and that's why we're seeing investors happy to play the market. What's your take on it? I mean, looking at GDP numbers, inflation, certainly the MPC reflected their thoughts on how they see the market performing. What's your take?
I think the market is performing, as you said, depending on various different sectors. If you look at different sectors in the stock exchange, all the sectors apart from oil and gas and insurance are up year to date. I mean, the consumer goods sector is up over 200%, banking is up 40%. But if you look at oil and gas, which you probably have to look at the fuel subsidy issues, that's probably dragging it down, and insurance sector, which there's been no oomph really in the sector.
Yes.
All the other sectors are going up to keep with the economy.
I mean, you mentioned oil and gas, and I mean, Owando has performed quite badly. Do you think it's because investors have lost confidence in that particular stock, or the fact that the sector is going through some bumpy times?
I think it's a combination. I think you have to look at the sector. The sector is going through bumpy sides. The EFCC is investigating the fuel subsidy. They've arraigned certain people. The report from the Presidential Task Force came out suggesting that they were going to get some refunds from certain people. But then if you look at Owando specifically, Owando is an over-leveraged company. And especially in their last results, there were certain payments that were made that were quite high that some shareholders were not happy about. Going forward, they seem to be cleaning out their books going forward, and their reverse listing onto the Toronto Stock Exchange of their upstream assets is going to be quite interesting. But I think investors are just reflecting really on certain things that happened in the last results.
So you do think that stock may regain some of that oomph later?
I think if corporate governance can be strengthened, if investors can get more confidence going forward that there's actually a strategic plan to go forward, and the fuel subsidy issue is not going to affect them that much, and their upstream assets, which is what they're focusing on, and especially their power assets as well, especially right, depending on how they do in the power privatization, I think the stock could go up.
Now, market making kicked off on the stock exchange yesterday. Some people not so confident. I mean, we talked to Femi Oladehin. He doesn't seem to think that it's so great, this program. But certainly investors seemed happy with what's going on. I mean, what's your take on the first day of trading?
I think market making, they're just trying to increase liquidity in the market, and it's a good first step. I mean, I agree with some analysts that there's some underlying issues. You have to look at transaction costs. NSE still has, the transaction costs are still too high for people to be able to go into the market and out as quickly as possible. You also have to look at fundamental issues. They still haven't sorted out the broker issue. Yeah, you find the NSE is looking at improving liquidity with market making, securities lending, and other new products, which is good. But the underlying issue is certain brokers were basically sent to the IST. We haven't heard anything about it. There are certain rumors about the solvency of other brokers, and all this has to be sorted out. And unless this is sorted out, you can introduce all the new products you want, but the underlying issues are still there, and you still have 80% of the market are foreign investors.
But like you said, a good step, good first step. Yeah. Now let's focus on the banking sector. I mean, I'd love to get your take on what's happening there. We're seeing the tier two fallen angels, what some analysts are calling them fallen angels, sort of coming back. Diamond Bank, FCMB, Skybank performing well. But what's happening over with the tier one? I mean, Zenith Bank specifically hasn't been performing so well. If
you look at Zenith Bank and probably GTB as well in the same bracket, in the last 3 years, while the other banks were doing badly, their share price has done quite well. And I think what we're seeing is a readjustment where other banks are trying to catch up, because in the first half of this year, if you look at banking profits, they're up 80% from last year, all across board. So I think investors are reevaluating the performance of those banks and the share price compared to the other banks. You're providing pretty decent results now.
What about Transcorp? Your take on Transcorp? I mean, that stock was doing fantastically well. All of a sudden, we saw it sort of hit a flat level, but now it seems to be sort of coming back.
I think the flagship investment of Transcorp is Transcorp Hilton. And during the first half of the year, they were, with the security scares in Abuja, activities in the hotel went down. I mean, Transcorp Hilton normally has between 80 to 90% occupancy all year round, which is unheard of in most parts of the industry. But I think it's gone down with the security alerts that have been happening. But I think the security situation seems to be under better control. So you see occupancy rates going up. And the moves by the Obina Ufudo-led team to diversify into oil and fruit juice, I think we're going to see that's going to bear fruit.
Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump back to the banking sector. Union Bank, I want to talk about Union Bank specifically because we've seen that most buyers of that name, they seem to be speculators, you know, so we expect to see some profit taking soon in that stock. What is your take? Are we going to continue to see that stock go up or get hit by a profit taking period?
I think a lot of smart investors saw the Union Bank results for 2011, and it was pretty dire. But I think a lot of investors looked at that and said Union Bank was cleaning the books. Now they've cleaned out everything. Anything that looked like bad loans or bad debt, they've cleaned it out. So it's a pretty clean book now. So going forward, most of my investors expect that profits will start coming through because the book they used 2011 to clean out the books. So I think some people are taking a punt on that. I think secondly, they want to see the new management team that's been brought in, the new investors, and see how they can drive Union Bank, which really Union Bank is one of the big three old banks in Nigeria and has the asset base and the customer base. It just needs the technology and the management to push it forward.